What's up YouTube, Kristo here, and I've got a video for you. The first video for my 12 fragrances for fall and winter. As you can obviously tell, I'm going to be reviewing Amouage's Memoir Man. I've worn this quite recently, just yesterday, and I figured that it'd be a great time to review it because I've actually worn this quite a lot in the last couple months, and I think this is a really good point for me to start. Just quickly, I want to mention, if you've watched my 12 fragrances for fall, I mentioned that it'll be autumn very soon, and actually I got quite an interesting, I don't know if I can say nice surprise, but basically, like the day after, or maybe 2 days after I shot that video, the weather here just went freaky and it got really cold, really rainy, really windy. And it was basically exactly what autumn will be like. But very strangely, yesterday, beautiful, gorgeous, sunny, basically like summer, just a little tiny bit cooler. So I took advantage of this a couple times. I wore it during that really cold spell, or cool spell, I should say. So I thought this would be a really great place to start for my 1 of 11 videos soon to come, hopefully. So Amouage's Memoir Man. It's actually not too long ago that this was released, 2010. Honestly, I just started getting into fragrances around then, and niche wasn't even on my radar, so Amouage was just something that didn't come in until, you know, a couple years after that. But once I did find out about Amouage, Lyric was the one that interested me the most in terms of notes. But Memoir, I thought the presentation, the packaging, the bottle, I thought it was just so beautiful. Now, I can say perhaps the bottle itself doesn't look quite as nice as it does online. Obviously, you know, they pay professional photographers to make it look really nice and glamorous and luxurious. It's nice, but just not quite as nice as it looks online, if that makes any sense. Now, Amouage itself, they describe this fragrance as a woody, leathery fougere. And I definitely agree. I think there's a bit more herbal aspect to it, but for me, the main notes out of this, like the most dominant overall, are without a doubt the tobacco, as well as resins like amber, some woodiness, which I'm going to go with Gaiac because of the woods listed. That's what I would say I get the most out of. In the opening of this, I get so many herbs out of this. It's just unbelievable. The absinthe or wormwood, as well as the mint and basil. Oh, I've got my special little co-star here. This is my little kitten that I just adopted last week, and she's gonna join me on the sofa, it looks like, to help me review. So if she comes in and attacks me for no reason, don't be surprised. I woke up this morning with her claws actually stuck in my nose when I was sleeping, so she's going to sit here and lick herself while I review Memoir. So back to it. The opening, there's something really interesting I get out of this. I get a very watery, vegetal feeling, almost like wet celery, like if you keep a Tupperware container in the fridge full of celery with water to keep it moist. I get that. Not just that, but I get that as well mixed with, just like I said, the overwhelming amount of herbs in it. It basically goes from that into a beautiful, smoky, resinous, flinty, woody, dry down with lots of tobacco, but I wouldn't really say it's tobacco in like a cigarette sense or even a pipe sense. It's more, to me, like what you would smell the remnants of what you would have after smoking a pipe. Now, when people think of pipe tobacco, they often will think of something like Pure Havana, like very sweet cherry tobacco. This, even though there are a few notes in this that can come off as sweet, especially vanilla, I really don't get much sweetness out of it. Like, there is, but it is just overwhelmingly woody and spicy to me. So I think, absolutely without a doubt, it smells more like ashy, burnt tobacco rather than, you know, fresh, sticky, sweet tobacco like that, which I like because I think sweet tobacco is just a little bit overdone and it doesn't really interest me that much. I love Pure Havana, but there's just so many kind of similar fragrances, you know, and, you know, Tobacco Vanille and Herod and stuff, you know, whatever, that's enough for me, not my thing. I definitely prefer this to them. Now, what does this remind me of? I think of, strangely, I think the herbs in the opening, especially the basil, there's a lot of basil in this, and basil and mint as well, both of them, both of which actually I strongly dislike. I actually quite dislike herbal notes, and basil and mint being the two worst perpetrators for me. But in this, I find it very inoffensive. The mint, yeah, maybe it's there, but it's totally overshadowed by the basil and the wormwood to me. So what I get is kind of someone who's packed an old briar pipe with herbs, like exotic, strange herbs like basil, wormwood, and they've smoked it, and then you were to pick up the pipe and you were to smell the ashes and the remnants in the bowl. That's what this fragrance reminds me of. They mention this as being a leather on the Amouage site. You know, I don't doubt that there's a bit of leather in this, but honestly, I don't get it as one of the main notes or accords. To me, this is much more incense, woods, and herbs to me. So if you're looking for a great leather fragrance, I don't think this is it. It's excellent. I think this is a great scent, but it's really not a leather-based fragrance to me. Now, in terms of the price, this one, as well as basically most Amouages, are very expensive at retail. You're looking basically minimum about $300 US for 100 ml, like this size right here. Anywhere up to 400 or more, obviously depending on where you live and its availability and accessibility and all that. But Amouage in the last maybe 2 years or so have been very, very, very easy to find on the gray market, especially in North America. There are numerous websites in the USA that sell this very heavily discounted, $200 US or less. I picked mine up for considerably less than $200, and I'm very happy. I was actually going to pay over $200 for it. I just ended up lucking out and getting 100 ml for, you know, about 150, maybe 170. It was a couple years ago, I don't really remember. So very happy with that. In terms of occasion for this, I think this is great for formal or a kind of fancy, high-end, classy, posh night out in the fall. I think it's just so classy, so sophisticated, very unique. I think it would work well. Perhaps a classy date as well. I think this would be a fragrance that would really impress a date, especially if they were someone you've only met once or twice before. I think this would really get their attention. In terms of season, well, obviously this made my top 12, or not necessarily top 12, but my 12 fragrances for fall. So to me, this just screams fall. The reason I would say is because even though it is heavy with tobacco and woods, I don't find it to be so heavy that it's something that would remind me of winter. I think with the kind of the herbal notes in the opening, as well with the very dense smokiness of it, I think this is just perfect for a more formal or upper class, upper scale fall evening. I think it's excellent. For gender for this, definitely it leans more masculine. I have to admit, I have not tried the women's equivalent of this. I have not tried many of the women's amouages, only a couple, one of which I was very impressed with, but perhaps I'll save that for another video. I definitely could see a woman pulling this off. Even though it is masculine, it doesn't really come off as something that's like really butch or masculine. It's just kind of because it is, you know, heavy with tobacco and woods and smoke. It's definitely something that I think of more as a masculine fragrance. But definitely, I think a woman with, you know, open-minded taste, I think they could pull this off very well. I think it would be a very classy fragrance for a woman. Now, in terms of performance, now one thing actually I want to mention quickly before I get into that. This bottle I have here is from the original pressing, let's say, the original release, and it actually has the super heavy pure metal cap. You can hear it right there. It's very heavy. The cap alone weighs probably about half as much as the bottle. So this is basically first generation from when that was made. It was followed by the plastic cap, and then what is now in the standard, the magnetic cap. So I have not tried newer formulations of this. I have seen them, but I've not tried them, honestly. I couldn't be bothered to because I've heard they've been so dramatically reformulated. A very good friend, he has tried the plastic cap interlude as well as the new magnetic cap interlude, and he said they're so different. They smell very similar, but in terms of performance, the plastic cap is just, you know, nothing. Like it blows the magnetic cap out of the water. The magnetic cap is just nothing compared to it. So if you are looking at the plastic or magnetic cap, you know, perhaps you should do a bit more research in terms of performance. But for this, the old school magnetic cap, I get basically longevity until you wash it off. Maybe if you sweat like a pig in, you know, summer heat or something, yeah, perhaps it's gonna wash off you faster if you wear it to the gym or something. But if you wear this in like a normal climate, normal condition, room temperature, it's gonna last 12 plus hours basically until you wash next. In terms of projection, I find this to be fairly modest for how absolutely long lasting it is, and for kind of heavier smoke and woods. I find it to be fairly modest, which is good. I think it's a nice combination, because if you're someone like me who maybe gets a little bit self-conscious about people smelling you, not necessarily smelling you, but being offended by what you're wearing, I think this is good as well, because it lasts so long, but it doesn't project too much as well. So I think that's great. Overall for this, I think, okay, let me do the positives first, actually. Positives for this, I think it's very unique. I think this really stands out in terms of Amouage fragrances. The last kind of 4 or 5 that I've tried from the house, honestly, I don't see them being that unique, that different from each other. Not necessarily from other houses or anything. The last kind of 4 or 5 Amouages that have been released, I found to be very samey and very little going into them other than perhaps, you know, different top notes. This one, it does remind me little tiny bits of other Amouages just from the smokiness and the woodiness. But, you know, there's nothing from the house that I can compare it to. And there's nothing I've ever tried that I can compare it to, honestly. The projection is modest. It's good for me. I like that. I don't particularly like beast mode. So for me, that's good. Longevity, excellent. 12 plus hours if it doesn't get, sweated off, or if it doesn't, just get sucked away in the summer heat or anything. The bottle looks great. Maybe not quite as good as it's meant to look online, but I do think the bottle looks great. I love the black bottle with the silver cap, the silver emblem. I think that looks really nice. I don't have my box here. I left the box in Indonesia. It was just too big. Amouage boxes are like this, and for the size of the box, I could have brought like 4 or 5 other bottles. So I did leave it, but yeah, the box looks great as well. I do love Amouage packaging. It does look really nice, the presentation. Negative, if you live in some parts of the world, this is either going to be impossible to find, or you're going to end up paying retail for it online, and you're probably going to have to pay a lot for shipping. That's just one of the things. If you live even outside of North America, even in Europe, this is going to be harder to find heavily discounted. If you're not into herbal fragrances, this might not be your thing. I don't like herbal fragrances at all, but this doesn't offend me whatsoever. If you're just kind of sick and tired of something woody, smoky, yeah, maybe this isn't going to be your thing. I'm still really into that. I love it. It is basically my favorite genre of fragrance, so I still really like this, but it is one in a sea of like thousands of fragrances, especially niche, especially Middle Eastern style, especially mid to high-end fragrances. So even though there's nothing I can really compare this to, there are, literally hundreds of other fragrances that are, possibly categorized with Memoir. Overall, though, I'm very happy I own this, and I think it's just such an interesting fragrance. It's very flinty and ashy and resinous and herbal. There's just so much going on. I really, really enjoy this. Easily, I would place this in my top 3 Amouage ever. There are quite a few Amouages that I love. I would say truly love, probably 5 or 6, which is a pretty high ratio when you look at it. But, there's a good few that just I have no real interest in, or they're just too samey to each other. This one I really think stands out, so I would highly recommend this. If you're into Amouage and you have not tried this yet, you have to. If you're into woody, smoky, and you haven't tried this, you have to try it. I think this is a really great fragrance for fall. If you've got $200, you're thinking about something to get for fall, it's going to last, it's going to project, it's going to have great performance, it's going to be unique, probably get you some attention. Highly recommend checking this one out. So there you go. That's my review for Amouage's Memoir Man. What are your thoughts on Memoir Man? Like it? Love it? What do you think's good about it? What do you think's not too good about it? Can you compare the metallic to plastic to magnetic cap? That would be interesting as well, if you could help out with a bit of that. So there you go, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.